Welcome to Scorched Earth and the general reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of October 2024. I hope you are well. I'm using the Night Sun Tarot for you today, so given as this deck is replete with nudity, if there is any that shows up, I will swiftly cover it up, because YouTube's AI box don't like that very much. So if you see me doing that, that's why I am doing it. Also, before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That is via the first link in the description box. Second link in the description box is to my private community, which is the Order of the Phoenix, located over on the Circle platform. You can get access to all of the extended content for all of the signs for no extra cost beyond the membership fee. And hang out with some really extraordinary people. Maybe just learn a few things along the way as well. So if that sounds like it might be of interest to you, you know what to do with those links. Right, let's flip the table around and see what's going on with you. Can I have 3 cards for Sagittarius, please? Oof. We have the 5 of Swords and the Queen of Cups in your recent past. Current energy for Sagittarius, please. Ooh, the Hanged Man. Interesting. I should tell you why that's interesting in a second. What's coming towards Sagittarius, please, for October? Ooh, 8 of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles. Okay, we lock it. Oh, we locking in Sagittarius. I'm going to tell you why that's quite amusing. In a change from the usual, and the usual being I do the reading and then I forget what it's about and then I have to listen to it again and I kind of skip through it to try and work out what it was talking about, and then I come up with the title. This month, for some reason, the titles are coming first. And Sagittarius, locking in. It's right there. Okay, we have the 6 of Wands at the bottom of the deck, and I get the goosebumps are getting ready to come out. I can feel pre-goosebump. But let's get some clarifiers out on the table before we say any more, because I do think that this month is going to represent quite a significant turning point for you, in one way or another. So, tell me about the 5 of Swords and the Queen of Cups. Lord. Okay, we have the 6 of Wands, we have the World. Oof, and we have the Judgment card. I'm going to pop it there. Tell me about this Hanged Man, please. Why is the Hanged Man there for Sag? Ooh. No, I'm not going to take all of those, but I am going to show you what they are. We've got the Devil, we've got the 4 of Wands, we've got the 2 of Wands, and we've got the 3 of Swords. These two are both pretty difficult energies right here. But I do feel like, being as we were clarifying the Hanged Man, it's about changing perspective on the things that have felt restrictive, or the things that have felt toxic, the things possibly that might have felt like they were expressions of you being stuck or pained or any of these kind of things. And realising that reality is what you make it, right? At every single given moment in time, you have the capacity to change stuff. And this is probably going to be quite important, but I'm going to shuffle these back in, like so. So if anything wants to come out again, it can. Tell me about the Hanged Man, please. We have Page of Pentacles, we have the King of Wands, and we have the Moon. Interesting. What about the 8 of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles, please? Whoa. High Priestess. Goodness me. Hermit. Okay. And one more, please. One more, please, for this. That's not one. What? Saggies. What the fuck? Even the energy won't do as it's told. We've got the Knight of Wands. We've got the 3 of Pentacles, and we've got the Fool. Right. We're locking in hard on something here now, Sagittarius. It feels a little bit like there's something that's being made concrete here. Now, there's a lot of fairly complex energy on the table. There are a lot of cards on the table, which I usually try and shy away from, at least in the in the collective overviews, right? We're a little looser on the extended, and I'm quite happy for lots of cards to come out here, but I don't want to sit here and take up, you know, a full hour of your time while we go through these. Nevertheless, what's on the table is on the table, and we're going to deal with it anyway. So we start off with the Five of Swords and the Queen of Cups. Now, talking about complexity, I happen to think that Cancer is one of the most complex signs of the zodiac, and here we have, you know, representation of Cancer energy. It's about emotion, it's about forgiveness, it's about, a lot of the time, it's about internalization too. Because the Queen of Cups is a highly receptive energy. Water is receptive. Queens by nature are receptive, and so you've got receptivity squared there. It's like what we're taking into ourselves. There's a sense here that there's a realization that you have had, that there are many things that you have taken into yourself that actually form no part of the Sagittarius story moving forwards. Now, these can be really profound realizations, such as a recognition of some sort of mother wound or something like that, or they can be lighter, realizing actually that maybe on some level you are a little bit concerned about what people think about you, and maybe some of the things that run through your head are just a little bit too batshit for people to understand properly, and maybe they might judge you for that. And then kind of resolving to get on with it anyway. This Five of Swords has a multiplicity of different meanings, and it varies quite a lot between the decks, right, as to the actual image that is on the cards in the first place. We can be talking about arguments and rows and, you know, falling out with people, broken communication, all that sort of thing. But Fabiola Strani seems to me to have really nailed down the idea of self-sabotage with this card. There is only one character depicted in the card, which is quite unusual because in Waite-Smith decks it's usually 3. And here we've got a sense of all these swords, which can represent different perspectives and different interpretations of the truth, and maybe even in some cases, you know, projections and things like that that are right in here, right in the base of the skull. Causing anxiety, causing a certain amount of instability around the way that we see ourselves, or how we filter the things that come through to us. And then we've got this idea that Sagittarius in some way or another has actually been somewhat of a sponge for these things. Now, this feels to me like it is changing really quite dramatically, and we're seeing it change even just in terms of the cards that are happening underneath. I have to share with you, I did a personal reading for a Sagittarius this morning. And the energy that came through that was so intense, so potent, that I actually couldn't see properly for about the first 10 minutes of the reading. And what bothered me about that was because I had not yet done the Sagittarius reading for October, I was not sure whether this was a collective Sagittarian energy or whether this was specific to the client that I was reading for at that time. Looking at the amount of major arcana that's showing up here, the energies that are kind of weaving through this story, I feel like it's a collective Sagittarian showing up. Right, collective Sagittarius energy showing up here. Because the Six of Wands, the World and the Judgment card seem to be a recognition of one's own robustness if one chooses to be so. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of, well, I didn't even care about that anyway sort of attitude. It's the realization that what other people think, what other people tell you, what other people project onto you only has the opportunity to affect your actions if you choose to receive it, if you choose to take it in. Because you've been somewhat of a porous sponge for the longest time, I feel like there's a lot of deep running emotional connection to these perspectives and these ideas that people have set forth. Now, you know, you spent a considerable number of years working on yourself now, Sagittarius, so I don't think any of this is going to come too far out of the blue. It's not going to be this huge lightning bolt of something. we're talking about the subtle and the fine. And if you start from the perspective that actually, rather than being an impervious rock, which I think is quite often what Sagittarius thinks of themselves as, but instead that you are quite the opposite, you are a sponge for the emotions around you. And it is only in being told that you're impervious that you thought that you were. Not only does it have the effect of completely changing the way that you think about yourself, but it's giving you the ability to ride triumphantly back to a sense of self that you've been looking to cultivate for a very long time. The World card is the end of a cycle, Sag, and whether you realise it or not, like you're there, you've hit it. Maybe it's been the year-long chop wood, carry water that you've been engaged in. You've really mastered that. That's possible. Remember that the World card represents the 4 fixed signs, and so that those feats of endurance, staying humble, but also reaching towards our potential, reaching towards what is right for us. I mean, this feels like a triumphant ride home for you, Sagittarius. And I know I'm speaking kind of in the abstract here a little bit. But at the same time, this fine level that you've been working on here is representing a level of emotional and mental mastery that doesn't necessarily have bells and whistles attached to it, right? We're not talking about these huge triumphant realizations. We're talking about the really fine stuff. And the Judgment card here feels to me to be a state of wholesale change which is incoming. Now, whether you realise it or not, you have ushered this in, Sagittarius. You may well have felt like for the last few weeks you've been kind of bimbling around, just doing your thing and whatnot. And whether or not this refers to a state of recognising the fear of judgment within you, or whether this is you ready to, deciding that you are ready to really amplify yourself. Now, we're not talking about, turning up the dial and being loud and extra and all that kind of thing, but removing all the ways in which you have toned yourself down. You're big and you're bold and you're fiery and you're beautiful, and for whatever reason you've tried to stay relatively under the radar, but you are seen now. People see you now. And the question is, are you going to accept that or are you going to resist it? And I feel for the most part, most Sagittarians are ready to accept that now. Now, this could be in the workplace, but I feel more likely than not it's something bigger than that. It's kind of like the way that you live your life, Sagittarius. It's inspirational for other people. And they all assume that that comes very naturally to you. What they don't see is the iceberg of the 9/10 underneath that's got you to the point where you can do that. Right? There's a lot of effort that's gone into this casual mastery of life. But there's a tipping point that has been reached here now. Like I said, we can see the World card there, so we know that you've reached the end of a cycle in one way or another. But the energy's turning up now. It's turning up really, really hard, I would say. Because this Hanged Man, like I said, it's often a change of perspective and all that sort of thing, right? We talk about literally hanging oneself upside down so we can perceive the world from a different angle, and there, in that state, other things are revealed that we would not see in the upright. But I feel like this is more about submission by you, Sagittarius. Now, be calm. Don't bristle. I know what I'm saying when I say to a fire sign it's about submission. I'm not talking about you submitting to other people. I'm talking about you submitting to the will of the universe, because it feels to me like it's going to start, if it hasn't already, it's going to start making itself obvious to you in a way that has been flickering around in the periphery of your vision somewhere. Now, you haven't really been able to tell what it is, whether it's shadow or whether it's flame or whatever. It's just that there's been movement there. And you don't know what that is, and you don't know where that's going to take you. But all of a sudden, it seems to be making much more of an entrance into your life and demanding your attention. Now, I want a deck, this deck over here. You know, I said that this was actually quite complex and there were a lot of things going on here. Something's already been set in motion, Sagittarius, and you didn't even realise you were doing it at the time, but it's here. And it's ready to step from the periphery of your vision into your direct eye line, and it's asking for you to meet it head on. Tell me about this. Well, it's the Fool. Okay. We have the Fool, we have the Three of Pentacles, and we have the Ace of Pentacles. We have the World at the bottom of the deck right here. Okay. So, although I said there were too many cards on the table already, but here we are, this is what we're doing. We're going for more. The Fool and the Ace of Pentacles refer to, in their different ways, potential. That's what it's talking about, potential. And your ability to be able to tap into that at will and utilize it to take yourself off in different directions, right? To initiate some sort of change inside your existence, which is a corollary of the change that has been instigated within yourself. Now, you may feel like you've been doing this quietly by yourself, unseen by everyone, but the universe has been watching, it's been paying attention, because there's quite a lot here riding on that transformation, if I can put it that way, Sagittarius. I mean, this energy is very, very big, as we would expect, because it's you, right? Not going to do anything by halves. Something that you already initiated, small at first, is now coming back in a big way. Where it goes, we don't know. But it was initiated by you, or possibly by a Leo. I don't know. It's here. This Leo card in the middle. Generally speaking, that represents Leo, but it could represent the active masculine energy of fire. So it's about doing. It's something that you initiated. Like I said, small at first, actually completely oblivious to where this might lead. And all of a sudden, it's showing up big time. We have the Fool again. It's the second time it's ended up on the table. Here we've got the Ace of Pentacles, about really investing your attention into something. And then we have the Three of Pentacles. Like, whatever this is, it's not a solo mission, Sagittarius. Like, this involves other people. God, was I not... Ooh. The echoes of the reading that I did for the Sag this morning are absolutely wild. You have all been in training for quite a long time. And like I said, even though you feel like you've been doing it by yourself, the universe has been paying attention. And now it is time for you to submit to what the universe is laying out for you as a path moving forwards. Now, I don't think that any of you will have a problem with embracing this big energy as it is playing out in your life. Now that this has been dealt with here, because fear of judgment, fear of being seen, fear of taking too much into oneself, fear of, over emotional investment, these are all topics that have been tackled by you successfully recently, and without realizing it, Sagittarius, you passed the finish line. Right? You skidded over it sideways in a very fashionable state, and now it's time for you to make good on your training. Makes it sound a little bit threatening when I say it like that, doesn't it? But it's not, because it feels to me to be incredibly fulfilling, valuable. It feels like alignment with purpose. Sagittarius, if I could put it that way, because I see these two cards here, and I said it's about locking in. And actually that I completely forgot that I wrote it down, and then here it was. The Eight of Pentacles is about mastery. It's about mastery of something, right? It's about doing something over and over again until you get so good at it, it's almost like a conditioned response. You don't even have to think about what you're doing. It's a little bit like, we'll say, for example, martial arts, because I have some experience in that. Having practiced a kick or a punch combination so many times that you don't have to tell your limbs to move to react to whatever it is. They're already moving before your brain's properly consciously registered what's going on. That's a conditioned response right there, right? A positive one. There are all sorts of negative ones that we can have too. So because it's an 8, we've got quite a lot around the idea of power and empowerment and where that is. Like, you are empowered because you are disciplined, because you are committed. So I said this chop wood and carry water really starting to bear fruit for you now, perhaps. And, maybe it's a huge part of how you've crossed over the finish line here. But the King of Pentacles says it's time to do something with that now. Now, it's daily practice, or at least it should be a daily practice for Sagittarius, because you have to work quite hard to keep your feet on the ground. Notice this about Sagittarius, right? Left untethered, as if you will, you have a tendency to go off and up, and there's no problem with that at all. But you have to be able to return somewhere. Now, with the chop wood, carry water practice that you have been engaged in for the last year, you have proven that you can be strong, that you can dig in, that you don't necessarily have to pivot away from something. You can use a discernment to see which one of your superpowers now will be engaged in whatever this is. And the King of Pentacles is about, well, it's about responsibility, and it's about duty, and it's about taking those things really seriously, because you are a provider in some way, right? It's Taurus energy. Taurus is a builder. And this sense that Taurus is also a teacher, I just want to put that in there. There's this sense that everything that has been is now coming to a point where you are recognized as not only good at what you do, but a master of your craft. And there is something long range, in the distance, delayed gratification and all that kind of thing, being part of the King of Pentacles energy. There's something here that is being set up for the future. Now, this could be you in a role as a teacher. This could be you as in a role as a guide or an expert, someone who can be consulted on things. But whatever it is, this is not a flash in the pan. And this is not something that you could have necessarily really even thought about doing 18 months ago, because the chop wood, carry water aspect of everything that you did was kind of absent, right? We've got the High Priestess here, suggesting that whatever is happening, it's by way of divine connection, right? It's about grounding yourself to the material, but opening up to the divine. It's about your intuition. It's about the way that you are guided by your own personal guides, or your higher self, or source, spirit, universe, God, however you want to term it, right? It's about that all-encompassing knowing right there, where you know what the next thing to do is that is correct, the next thing to do that is right, the next stage on your journey. It's coming by way of an opportunity that is kind of flowing from something that you already initiated. That's the best way that I can put this here. And what this requires from you now, the way that you submit to the energy that is showing up here, is by locking in and committing to it, because those two cards there are energies of commitment, discipline, chopping wood, carrying water, and setting yourself up for the future in some sort of way. Now, this is not purely for your benefit. This is for the benefit of others around you, because there's an incredible amount of wisdom contained within these two archetypes here, the High Priestess and the Hermit. I mean, both of them talk about very internal states. And I think that The usual understanding of Sagittarius energy, as you are over here, is that it is very outward expressing, it's very dynamic, it's very bold, it's very much concerned with doing and experiencing. But Sagittarius themselves have been relatively introverted for a good year now. Doesn't mean that you haven't had friends or you haven't, been able to be sociable or anything like that. But, the bigger questions of who you are and why you're here and what you're here to do, what your purpose is, feel to me like they've been rolling around inside of you for quite a long time. But at the same time, you've been chopping wood and you've been carrying water. It's not like you have lost yourself in the middle of all of that. You've managed to anchor yourself to something really stable, really strong, whilst also working all of these things out. Now, if you as the Knight of Wands, as Sagittarius energy, can get to a point where you have become so disciplined that you have risen through the ranks and achieved a level of spiritual wisdom that is something that you now take for granted, but is perhaps notably absent from your community around you, whether it's friends, whether it's family members, whether you actually do run some sort of spiritual business, or you are thinking about setting one up, because I would not be surprised to hear that Sagittarius the world over are going, do you know what, I'm going to do that. If you can do this, if you can achieve this, then this is possible for everyone. And you are coming from a place of expertise now where you can guide even the most fizzy Sagittarian energy to this place of discipline and structure. And there's nothing about it that feels restrictive. Nothing at all. This is something that is just kind of flowing from you now, right? And the Three of Pentacles, cooperation, collaboration, working together with other people. I mean, this might be around the idea of setting up parallel communities and all sorts of things at the moment. Like I said, it could be spiritual business. It could be about, getting your friends in for a get-together periodically, just to contextualize everything that they're experiencing and reinforce the fact that it doesn't matter how chaotic things are outside. If you are solid and stable within, then you're okay. And maybe your friends need to hear that from you. There's an elevation here, Sagittarius. And whilst you may kick back against a kind of hierarchical idea of merit, whether you like it or not, you are perceived as an expert. Whether you like it or not, compared to the average person, you are. And this activation, this initiation, these opportunities that are coming along that seemingly are as a result of something you already initiated, and maybe that thing that you already initiated was simply your own self-work. Opportunities are flowing in thick and fast that are putting you on, I don't want to say on a new path, although we do see the Fool, and we've seen the Fool twice here, but a freer, liberated path. I don't feel like you've switched lanes, I guess, is what I'm saying here, Sagittarius. It feels like this is the obvious next step from where you have been for the last year or so. We've got the Six of Wands at the bottom of the deck there, which I'm taking to mean that you're actually relatively comfortable in sharing what it is that you've been doing, right? The ways in which you have become victorious over your internal state. And Mars and Leo here, feeling driven to help other people do the same, battle their own internal demons. Now, this is going to be different, wildly different for each of you. There's going to be a huge difference between those who are setting themselves up as somebody who is, approachable for paid consultation work or something like that. And those of you who just have got to the point where you realise that you can't keep quiet anymore when you see people struggling, and you go, you want to help them reframe what they're experiencing or find some sort of new perspective. I understand that there's a huge spectrum in between those things, but the theme here is strong. And it's very, very much rooted in the material. It doesn't feel like a gap in the market so much as everybody else looking at you and going, you, Sag, you're wise and shit, you can tell me what to do. And you going, what? Oh, all right then. Okay, that's fine. Now the fear of being seen has been dealt with. And I mean truly seen, Sagittarius, not just like spotted from across a crowd, but I mean really seen. Now that's subsided, and whatever self-sabotaging behaviours have been left behind, it's time for the world to see you. Literally time for the world to see you. And there's the Wheel of Fortune at the bottom of the deck right there. More Jupiterian influence for you. Five of Pentacles, Eight of Swords. All the sort of stuff that you are very well qualified now to help people with, Sag. I'll be honest, like, there's something about the energy of October that's really fucking weird. I'm seeing it play out in the readings. But for everyone, there's this boost up. Now we do have a solar eclipse in the sign of Libra right at the beginning of the month. But that's not a one-day deal, you know, that opens a portal that could take 6 months, maybe even a year to play out. And I'm not even sure that it is the eclipse that is what this energy is. But then maybe it is. Got an eclipse there. The only things that I can tell you is that it's time, and you lock in now, because you are committed to a course of action that was always going to go this way, because you seeded it already. Now it's seeded, now it's starting to show the potential. Now is the time to take it and run with it. Because however unqualified you feel, you are light years more qualified than the average person. I said this morning, I shall repeat it here for you as well. Wisdom is worth nothing if it's not shared. If it dies with you, what good is there for everybody else? This is really weird. It's a really, really weird reading. I'm going to go and do the extended now, so you're very welcome to join me over there if you would like to do so. You can do that on Vimeo or you can do that on Circle. I'd be delighted to see you in either place. And we're going to dig into this a little bit more. Like, I can see it very clearly, but it's not quite flowing out of me as well as I would like. So we're going to see if we can do something to rectify that, because there are some significant energies playing out here. And although I don't think any of you are going to bolt when these opportunities come up, it might be, you know, the last act of submission that is required from you, submitting to universal will, that really seals the deal on the closure of this old cycle and the initiation of a new one, where you yourself are a different being, perceived by people very, very differently to how you have been before. And the way that you're being perceived externally is much more in alignment with how you yourself perceive yourself internally too. So this is kind of a big deal, Sag. Right. I'm going to leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.